to everyone. This is Econ 102, that is Principles of Economics. It's the continuations of Econ 101, which you have taken in the last semester. If you can recall very well, the earlier version of the course mainly concentrate on issues related to individual economic agents. Some topics that were treated are concerned with how each economic agent is conducting some decisions that affect his welfare. We are treated each individual separately without aggregating it to see how the general economic activities were being conducted in the economy. So the course I'm mainly dealing with some microeconomic issues like demand, supply of individuals, firms, households, consumptions, theory of firms, and so on and so forth. Well, this particular course is mainly concerned with issues that affect the generality of the economy, how the entire economy operates, and what are some slopes that affect the normal working of the economy. So mainly we are going to deal with the general economy as whole, which is macroeconomics. We used to hear sometimes that jobs are scarce to find. A lot of people becomes unemployed. When people are unemployed, it's a clear indication that the economy is doing well. It's not doing well. Pardon. If the economy is not doing well, it is not expanding to accommodate the increasing number of job applicants. That results from macroeconomic slumps. On the other hand, there may be some times whereby the economy is growing enough, it's expanding enough to accommodate increasing number of job applicants, then the economy is growing. Such scenario, the economy is not experiencing what is called recession. It is expanding enough. So these are some of the things that we're going to treat in this course. Going by the slide from the textbook I sent you is starting from chapter 20. And the course outline from the slide you can see that first, the learning objective, the macroeconomic concern with describing three primary concerns of macroeconomics. Those concerns were achieving stability in the prices, attaining economic growth, ensuring there is equity in income distributions, and so on and so forth. Then we are going to analyze brief history of macroeconomics, though before then there are some components of macroeconomics to see how the interactions of such components makes microeconomics to work. So the definitions of macroeconomic concern with study of economy as whole, which is a contrast with microeconomics, which concern with the functioning of individual industries, behavior of individual decision-making unit, firms and households. So the micro, as the name implies, deal with micro issues relating to individual economic agent like government, like a household, like a firms, studying each of these agents separately. While the macroeconomy, going by the slides, deal with the economy as a whole. Macroeconomy focuses on determinants of total national income, deal with aggregates such as aggregate consumption, investment, and looks at the overall level of prices instead of individual prices. So the major difference between the micro and macro is the macro is aggregating all these individual economic agents to study them as a whole, to see how the overall aggregations is affecting the prices, the overall prices instead of individual prices. There's a major distinction between the micro and macro. The micro is more of unit analysis, while the macro is aggregate analysis. The aggregate behavior of all households and firms together. So by studying the aggregate behavior of firms and households together, we should be able to come up with its idea of what is happening with the overall economic activities. Is the economy improving or not? Is the economy growing or not? And such thing is essential. It will enable us to compare among two different countries which of the economy is growing enough to accommodate the increasing number of its labor force, and why this economy is growing more than the other economy. From two different countries, you can see that the rate of growth differs. From Africa to Asia, from Europe to Latin America. Within the same continent, you can find that one country is growing more than the other. That to show you that the overall economic activities in such countries is entirely different. And sometimes you find that the price is somehow sticky. Price do not always adjust rapidly to accommodate the changes in the quantity supply and quantity demanded. For the micro analysis, we have seen that the price can easily adjust if there were any changes in factors that affect either demand or supply. While for the aggregate economic activities, the price might be sticky sometimes. It may not necessarily change because each of the components of individual markets is influenced by certain economic factors. Some may offset the effects or influence of others and make the price to become sticky. So microeconomic concern with three major components. The first one is economic growth. By economic growth, we are interested in measuring how the GDP, that's the national income, is growing. And we know that the national income consists of consumption plus investment plus the government expenditure and the next exports. If any of this factor is growing without decline of other factor to offset the pace of increase of such factor, then we expect the economy to grow. And economic growth can only be attained if different economic players are contributing their part by producing goods and services to ensure that the economy, the outputs also grow. Secondly is, no any country would like to see that a lot of people are becoming unemployed. Unemployment has its own social menace. So macroeconomy is concerned with analyzing issues related to unemployment in order to find solutions to the problems of unemployment. And effort must be made to predict the future employment situation. Is there going to be any signs that in the long run there will be problem of unemployment or not? All these things are part of things that were forecasted in macroeconomics. Another issue is constant prices. We expect the price not to fluctuate too much. If there is rapid increase in prices, then it will characterize inflation. And inflation is having some adverse effects on the welfare of individuals because too much money are chasing very few goods. Secondly, deflation, a situation whereby there is fewer money in circulation. So neither inflation nor deflation are good for economy. That's why macroeconomic is concerned with seeing how the economy is free from inflation and deflation. So this is little bit digression of the major concern of macroeconomics. Achieving economic growth, then effort must be made to analyze this different scenario of business cycle. You know, the economy can never have a steady path. There are some cyclical movement within the economic activities that characterize the ups and downs in the economy. And such ups and downs can sometimes, if there were downs, the economy may be into slumps and the recession. And if the economy is booming enough, then we can say that the economy is free from the recession. So a recession is a period in which the aggregate outputs decline. Conventionally, from the slide, you can see that a period in which aggregates outputs decline for 2 consecutive quarters. If you look at the national income figures of a country and you find that from 2 consecutive quarters, the economy is not growing, it's having negative growth rates, we can say that the economy is in recession. So if recession is prolonged period of recession, taking more than a year, 2 years, 3 years, then it can turn into depression. And depression is a situation whereby a lot of people are becoming unemployed. Output is not growing to the extent that the firms have to lay down some of its workers. And the recession is very, very bad economic scenario. Recall that in 1930s, there was Great Depression, which started from UK, and it affects the entire Europe and some part of America. Then another part in the business cycle is expansion or boom. That's the period when the output is growing. Then contraction and the recession or slumps, that's the period when the output is declining after reaching the peak. Going by the charts here, you can see that the economy may start from the trough, at the lowest point, then it can expand. After expansion, eventually it will reach peak. From peak, then recession, that's a period of decline. Then coming back to trough, from the trough, then it will expand. So that you can see that the economy is expanding. So microeconomic concern with how such kind of scenarios are happening and what are the parameters are to be used in assessing which of the situation we are in. This is an example of US aggregate outputs. You can see that after World War, the aggregate outputs decline, then thereafter it increases, just trying to explain how the business cycle occurs in real life situation. Then the next thing is unemployment. Unemployment is the percentage change in labor force that is unemployed. Then the existence of unemployment seems to imply that the aggregate labor market is not in equilibrium. If there is persistent unemployment, it shows that the economy is not equilibrium. The demand and supply are not at the equilibrium. The markets, the production sector is not at equilibrium, and the government sector is having some imbalances. So when there is economic problem, it's a clear indication that the economy is not in equilibrium. Equilibrium period occur when all those that are willing to work are being fully accommodated. Then the last but not the least is the issue of inflation and deflation. Inflation is an increase in overall prices level, while hyperinflation occurs when the rises of prices is so much to the extent that it can causes a total loss of confidence in the value of currency. For instance, it happens in Zimbabwe now to the extent that a lot of people doesn't have confidence in Zimbabwe dollar, and they are no longer using the Zimbabwe dollar to be used, at the medium of exchange. So during hyperinflation, the overall prices of goods and services tend to increase, while deflation, on the other hand, is a decrease in overall price level. There were certain components of macroeconomy. The first is the household, the firms, government, and the rest of the economy. The households are individuals that supply their factor services to firms and also to government. They engage in productivity, which in return they earn salary and wages, where the firms hire what? They hire the households. They produce goods and services for the firms, and in return, the firms pay salary to the households. The duty of households is to pay taxes to the government. Also, government hires some of the households as a public servant, as a civil servant. The government pays salary in return to the household it hires. The government taxes, the firms and the households. The duties of government is to protect lives and property. Then the rest of the world were connected through international trades. So the relationship between these four economic agents, or the component of macroeconomy, yield to what is called circular flow of income. In the next video, we are going to see how the circular flow of income, how the income fluctuates or circulates from one economic agent to another. We are going to discuss it in detail. So this is the end of the introductory class. I'm not willing to digress more. So going by the subsequent lectures, we are going to shed more light on how the economy work and how the interactions between different economic agents work, and what are some problems, if any. So until then, see you in the next class. Bye-bye.